Well, the drivers about set to go racing here at Virginia International Raceway are looking forward in the calendar to the time when they'll be able to get back into their real race cars. But for now, we will race virtually here on the iRacing platform. Welcome, folks, to the second season of the FRP iRacing Challenge presented by Hoosier Tire. As I said, we are at VIR, one of the iconic racetracks in the U.S., located in Virginia, right near the Virginia-North Carolina border, near Alton. It's a tremendous racetrack for sure. 3.24 miles in length, and we're looking forward to a great battle here. It's the final round, as I said, of the FRP iRacing Challenge, a doubleheader, a couple of 11-lap races for you here on this tremendous racetrack, and we expect to see some very exciting competition. Qualifying just passing the halfway point here. Max Esterson currently up top, Colin Mullen in second. But we'll get things underway with a bit of a pre-race show. Welcome, folks, to Virginia International Raceway. My name's Rob Howden, joined today by Peter Mackay, and we are excited to be at this particular event. We'll talk more about the weather and the temperature conditions a little later on. But Peter, before the show, you and I are already talking about how excited we are to see what happens here, because this particular racetrack and these cars, the Skip Barber cars they're running in this program, should play for some incredible racing, some incredible drafting, and probably some great late-breaking maneuvers as well.
We are really going to be spoiled for action tonight. I'm absolutely sure of it, Rob. I mean, not only do we have some of the best young drivers anywhere in North America for us, we've got the brilliant Skip Barber car, which we saw last time out of Mid-Ohio and at Road Atlanta as well. Some brilliant racing. But most of all, we're here at VIR, one of the finest stretches of tarmac for racing on anywhere, not just in North America, but anywhere in the world. It's an extraordinary facility and a unique facility. And Paul Newman actually said, if there's a heaven on earth, it's VIR. And who's going to argue with Paul Newman?
The legend for sure. And this is an amazing racetrack built many, many years ago, but kind of reopened in 2000. They put a lot of money into this facility, and indeed one of the iconic racetrack, one of the favorites of many. And a lot of the drivers we're going to see here in this Formula Race Promotions program have had significant seat time here. Of course, FRP, Formula Race Promotions, promoting the F1600 Championship, the F2000 Championship, the Atlantic Championship, as well as the Prototype Championship, a great program for drivers that are looking for a high-level racing competition with a bunch of different chassis. Unlike some of the other organizations that run a spec chassis, this particular series, FRP, opens up to different manufacturers in all the categories, and that makes for very, very interesting lineups when you see these drivers and these programs get rolling. As we said before, and as Peter kind of detailed, this is the final round, final doubleheader. We launched things a couple of weeks ago at Road to Atlanta. Justin Hilly and Dylan Christie able to score the race wins there. Last Thursday, we raced at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and Zach Rivard kind of dominated the action. Opening round, there was an incident coming to the green flag. It allowed him to pull away. But Peter, even in the second race, when we did not have an incident, Rivard still able to stretch away, and he really was dominant and has moved himself into the top of the point standings coming in here, just 6 points ahead of Justin Hilly.
He was absolutely exceptional. You know, Mid-Ohio is such a tricky circuit to get right. It takes a lot of laps and a lot of seat time to be able to get to know it. Not so different, actually, from VIR. But what amazed me about Zachary's real-world driving is that he's entered 6 real-world races. 3 of them were at Mid-Ohio. So obviously, of his real world, it just shows you how important the real-world experience is. While we're on the subject of real-world experience, we did not see Max Esterson last time out, because he was testing his real-world F1600 car here at VIR. And would you look at that? He's right on the top of the timesheet. So if anybody's ever doubting the kind of crossover between sim racing and real-world racing, there's your evidence.
Yeah, both Max Esterson and Dylan Christie lined up to run with Team Pelfrey this year in the F1600 Championship Series. And again, as I'd said before, things kind of opening up a little bit here in the U.S., allowing the opportunity for tracks to open up for testing, both in the karting world, where a number of these drivers have come from, and of course here in the open real racing world as well. So a lot of these teams trying to get out to the track, giving their drivers a chance to kind of get things dialed back in again, because of course, the season just about set to start when the coronavirus pandemic kind of hit here in the U.S. in the middle of March, and all these drivers just trying to get back behind the wheel, get things dialed in again. But Peter, I don't think that we can overstate the importance of this particular iRacing program and iRacing in general, sim racing in general, has given all these drivers the opportunity to continue working on their skills. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's not seat of your pants kind of thing, but it's still that, that hand-eye coordination, that focus for a full race, the racecraft as well. I'm really excited to see how many drivers are going to be able to benefit. Maybe even some of the rookies that have not run the F1600 Championship before, but are here running in this program, how they're going to be able to use this and leverage it to be a lot stronger when we go racing again very soon.
Well, it's interesting. Digressing slightly, I was watching, as I'm sure many people have, The Last Dance documentary on Netflix recently, which documents the Chicago Bulls' fantastic 7th championship and how they did it. And one takeaway I took from it was Michael Jordan, of course, one of the greatest sportsmen who's ever lived, and a bit of a petrol head himself as well. But he said, I was always taught by my father to take a positive out of any negative situation. Now, of course, the current coronavirus situation, the negative is that we've not been able to go to the racetrack. But if you think about it, these drivers have been able to get way more seat time up to this point of the year than they would otherwise. Okay, that seat time's been behind a screen, but if you approach it with the right attitude, you can really learn a lot. And of course, to be honest, I couldn't think of a better format to learn racecraft than racing around VIR in these Skip Barber cars, because you've really got to drive with your head.
Indeed, I think that is most definitely the positive to take here, is the fact that these drivers have got a lot more seat time than they normally would. Of course, iRacing, an unbelievably affordable opportunity. You spend some money to put into a really high-quality rig that allows you to get the best feel possible, that best simulation you possibly can. But from there, you're paying, the annual fee. You're buying racetracks and race cars, and there's no crash damage. There's no track rental. There's no travel costs. You're behind the wheel at your home and getting a lot of seat time in. And I really think that a lot of drivers will take this a lot more seriously. And a lot, I know, have not even been in iRacing before. They've only joined since we kind of got locked down. So this is going to give these drivers an opportunity to get things rolling with their iRacing simulation careers. Let's jump in quickly, Peter, and have a look here, because we're just over 2 minutes away to capping off qualifying for the opening round of the doubleheader here at VIR. Last week's winner, the double winner from Mid-Ohio, Zach Rivard, now leading the way at 207.389. No, it's Simon Sykes now. Not surprising. We're going to see guys jump into the top. Quick top 10. Simon Sykes on top. Rivard runs second. Max Esterson in third. Colin Mullen fourth. Jackson Lee now rounding out your Fast Five. Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series graduate. Justin Hilly, a winner from Road Atlanta, in sixth. Dylan Christie, the other winner from Road Atlanta, in seventh. Jason Pettit in eighth. Jean-Christophe Trahan in ninth. And Brian Farnham rounding out the current top 10. About a minute and a half to go, and we'll expect to see drivers starting to dial things in here, Peter.
I'm just looking on screen. This is absolutely fascinating. We're looking on screen with our championship leader and last week's double winner, Zachary Rivard. But look who is behind him. Justin Hilly in the red and gold coloured car there. He is right behind him. Now look at this as we go down the straight. Justin Hilly in the 48 car is able to get a huge benefit in speed by sitting in the draft behind Zachary Rivard. So basically using Zachary Rivard's Skip Barber car as a nice win block for him. And that could make all the difference by following the fastest guy on the track. This will be fascinating to see what the lap time is at the end, because in this quite unusual in iRacing group qualifying session, that draft effect is so important.
Yeah, a lot of the times those of you who have been in iRacing before know it's usually a time limit. You go out and knock out your 4 or 5 laps and get the job done and come back in by yourself onto the racetrack. Again, a group qualifying, as Peter talked about here. 30 seconds remaining in qualifying before we head into the first of 2 11-lap races here from VIR today. And again, the championship very tight. Zachary Rivard with a 6-point lead over Justin Hilly, 143 to 137. Dan Clark, Speedy Dan Clark, not that far back either, running for Brad Hayes Racing. Burton August in the fight as well, just a point behind Clark. Matt Clark sits in 5th spot, Colin Mullen in 6th. So a number of drivers with the opportunity, 110 points on offer here today. Final couple of seconds. Simon Sykes trying to put that race prep light blue machine to pole. At this point, I believe he has grabbed that. So Simon Sykes, fastest driver on the racetrack. He'll be able to start from the front row. Didn't have the best weekend at Mid-Ohio, but Simon Sykes will be your pole sitter. A 207.389 fast time for Sykes. Max Esterson, very impressive, a very high I rating on the service as well, but we're expecting to see him be strong this year in the F1600 series with Team Pelfrey. He'll start second. Winner from Mid-Ohio, Zach Rivard, very fast in the 27. He will be in the third spot alongside Colin Mullins. So two race prep drivers in the top two rows. Peter, let's go further back. I'll let you do road number 3 and road number 4.
So row number 3, we have Jackson Lee in the Jackson Lee Racing number 52 car, followed by our closest championship contender, Justin Hilly, in the 48. In 7th will be Dylan Christie, who was getting some real-world experience of VIR last week in the 82. And 8th is Jason Pettit in the 75.
Jason Pettit, one of the young drivers out of Southern California, ran in the Formula Car Challenge last year. Canadian Jean-Christophe Trahan will start 9th in the Britain West Motorsports machine, while Brian Farnham, who was definitely in the fight at Mid-Ohio, capping off your top 10. A couple of Canadians on row number 6, Megan Gilks for Vallis Motorsports and Connor Klubine for Britain West Motorsports. Moving down to row number 7, Christopher Wright will start alongside Kyle August. Row 8, Matt Clark and Andrew Dobby. Row 9, William Liston and Ryan Bjerke. Further back to row 10, Nolan Allaire in the number 11 and Chris Kearse in the Bjerke Motorsports number 9. Row 11, Tim Wilkin and Charles Ante. And row number 12, Dexter Zuba and Bob Perona.
In 25th is Omar Khan in the 09. And 26th is Zachary Vanier in the 66. 27th is Ayrton Hook in the 76. And that rounds out our 27 drivers for this race at VIR.
Probably should have grabbed those last two. I thought we'd have more for you there, Peter. But both Vanier and Hook, quite a ways off, over 2 seconds off Khan, like they may have had some kind of an issue. So we'll watch for both of those drivers. We know that Zach Vanier, one of the top drivers in the Ontario F1600 Championship. We'll see what he's able to do working his way forward. But a good qualifying run for Simon Sykes. He's further down the order, 13th in points for Simon. Max Esterson, as we said, missed that last week's race because they were traveling to VIR, this particular racetrack here in Virginia, to do real-world testing for Team Pelfrey. And as I said from the top of the broadcast, every one of these drivers ready to get back behind the wheel. They are ready to get started. And I wonder, this is kind of the swan song for these drivers as they'll focus on the real world. Peter, you think we'll see maybe some more, let's say, higher risk moves, knowing it's the final race of the season?
Well, it is. We've got 2 races today and up to 110 points available. So the race winner will get 50 points. So that's a big move. Zachary Rivard sitting on 143 and Justin Hilly sitting on 137. It's worth making our viewers aware that there are bonus points available. So the pole position, the pole sitter gets 3 bonus points. So that would go to Simon Sykes. However, each race, the fastest lap of the race, not only gets 2 bonus points, but also gets the pleasure of sitting on the pole position for the next race. So do keep an eye out on that. You'll see in our SDK Gaming overlay on the left-hand side with the timing tower, if you see a purple lap pop up, that means it is the fastest lap of the race, and that means they are in line to score those 2 bonus points. But I think they're going to be trading fastest laps all the way through to the very end.
Well, and we know this for sure, Peter, that as these cars get lower on the fuel load, the drivers will be able to put good laps in. The tires in this particular model will last nicely through to the end of the 11-lap race. So they're not going to be struggling for grip as much as they'll have lesser fuel load, so lighter cars. So we may see those fast laps come late. And that's the key to make sure that you're able to get to the end. If you wreck early and find yourself beached or out of the race, you're not able to take advantage of the lighter weight to be able to get those quick lap times. Drivers now working their way through the Oak Tree Bend. Again, a little throwback for us here as Oak Tree no longer on the track itself. Drivers lining up, folks, and we'll get things underway here momentarily. Simon Sykes in the pole alongside Max Esterson. Again, you see the 3 race prep cars there in first, fourth, and I believe, what's the other car there? Oh, in the 5th spot as well with Jackson Lee. Jackson had trouble early at the Mid-Ohio event, but was able to run with the leader. So better qualifying effort here for Jackson Lee. Looking forward to see what he's able to do here today. But again, following around the iRacing safety car here. And Peter, you and I are both, I think, on pins and needles. We're expecting this one to be a very, very entertaining race.
It really is. And we've just always got to think about the championship. All of our championship protagonists, Zachary Rivard, Justin Hilly, Daniel Clark, Burton August, they're all there. So we've got to keep an eye out of them throughout the race, throughout both of these races today. It's just going to be such a cracker around one of the best circuits in North America.
One thing to remember, a couple of 11-lap races. Those of you who are with us will have a 10-minute break in the middle. Drivers will be able to get back on track for a bit of a warm-up before we jump into race number 2. So we will cut away, but feel free to stay and enjoy the break there in the middle. But we will be back with round number 2. Field now set, folks. We'll wait for the pace car to peel off, and indeed, we are getting ready to race. They're on the throttle here early, working their way up to start-finish, and we are underway. Green, 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 and a great start for Simon Sykes as he's able to lead them down into turn number 1. This will be the first time that we all hold our collective breaths because that run through turn number 1 could be chaotic. Sykes to the bottom of the racetrack. Esterson trying to roll the outside. Good start there as well for the number 27 of Zach Rivard. He slots into that 3rd position. Couple drivers together further back outside the top 10. You can see the carnage further back trying to come through the opening corners here, turn 1 and turn number 2. Through NASCAR, bending a driver off of the outside. That's the 6 going off the outside. That's Simon Sykes. Sykes drops a wheel. Oh, almost trouble here for Jackson Lee. I'll tell you, Peter, these drivers are throwing these Skip Barber cars around, and we've seen a lot of them lose the rear end trying to get back on power.
Yeah, that opening. Oh, Justin Hilly makes contact. Oh, so that's Justin Hilly, second in the championship, has made contact with 2 other cars that have both ended up in the wall, and that could mean that Justin Hilly has a little bit of damage. We'll have to watch his pace very, very closely, but that could be huge for the championship, knowing that Zachary Rivard looks to have got away relatively clean. Yes, there he is, the number 27. We've just got a little issue with our timing screen right now, so ignore that for now. But it's Esterson, the number 80, with Zachary Rivard right behind as they head on to the back straight.
We'll use that little bit there with our live timing here to fill you in. Those are the drivers who have gone to pit lane. Jean-Christophe Trahan, he was the driver involved with Hilly, I believe, or Brian Farham as well. Chris Wright, Chris Kearse, Omar Khan, and Zachary Vanier, the drivers involved in the opening corner instance. So those drivers, will see them cycle back out, but they are in the pit lane right now. Rivard has gone to the lead. He and Esterson need to work together to try to pull away here. They have a pretty decent advantage at this point over Colin Mullen, but a couple of those drivers for Race Prep having some trouble, both Simon Sykes and Jackson Lee struggling in turn number 3, I believe, for Simon Sykes, and I want to say over in turn number 4 for Jackson Lee as he tried to get the thing rotated into the corner, lost the rear end of it. Now, great save for Lee at that point. He only fell back, I want to say probably to about 6th or 7th at this point, but not what he wanted for the opening lap. We see the number of drivers in the pit lane. Vanier there, the number 66. His machine parked, as is the 09 in pit lane. So a little bit of chaos potentially expected, Peter, in the opening couple of corners.
It really is. The opening sector here at VIR is so tricky in any car, but particularly in a single-seater. It's so narrow, and that it's so easy to just clip the car behind. We saw Simon Sykes, our pole setter, just put even half a tyre onto the grass, and he was just gone because that grass is just like ice. As soon as you put a wheel on, you lose control, and you're just out of there. So, but it doesn't seem to be affecting Zachary Rivard and Esterson. So, for Rivard, he's got to battle clever, though. Esterson isn't necessarily in the championship fight. He's probably too far back, but Rivard's got to be clever. And like you say, work together with Esterson rather than against him.
Fight right now just outside the top 10, the P11 for Nolan Allaire, and then Ryan Bjerke in the 12th spot working away. Charles Ante, veteran driver in numerous forms of open wheel racing here in North America. Ante riding back there now in the 13th spot. Up front, though, as we said, Zach Rivard with that lead. Watching them come out of Oak Tree right now. Rivard coming off those 2 big victories at Mid-Ohio. Would love to see it go back-to-back, but he and Esterson now fighting side by side. This could allow Colin Mullen and Dylan Christie to close back up. You can see them right there in 3rd and 4th. That gap not pulling away, and we'll watch more to see what kind of lap times we're getting here. But look at these guys battling it out. Peter, we're not worried about pulling away here at all. I think they're both trying to use the draft when they can, pulling full momentum. When you get the draft, they're going right on by, but that's going to allow Colin Mullen and Dylan Christie to get back into this fight. We could have ourselves a 4-car scrap up front here in just a couple of laps.
Well, we certainly will. That back straight at VIR is just so long. And, actually to the point where I think Rivard came out of They came out of Oak Tree turn ahead, and then Esterson went by, and then Rivard went by again, and that's all in the length of that back straight. So that back straight is going to be so critical. Looking on screen at Justin Hilly in 9th position, he's got Megan Gilks and Simon Sykes in front of him, so he's got to make a move here. His pace 209.449, so it doesn't look like his car has got any damage after that incident. He's quite lucky to get away with that one.
I would expect to see this group be pretty quick. Of course, Simon Sykes, as we know, qualified on the pole on that number 6 machine, so they've obviously got a good rabbit up front there. Megan Gilks using full advantage here to see if she can't stick with Simon Sykes. Sykes pulling away a little bit up front, so I would expect to see Hilly get aggressive soon to try to find a way by Megan Gilks, because he'd love to stay in the slipstream of Simon Sykes. Those two drivers, I think if they hook up, could change the storyline here, Peter, because we know both drivers unbelievably quick. But at this point, Hilly's got to make sure that Sykes doesn't pull away.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That is absolutely critical. If Sykes breaks away from Hilly, then Hilly's really in trouble for the championship. So I think, yeah, he's got to be very brave, Justin Hilly, here, and make a firm move on Gilks to get by. However, he also has the opportunity to wait until he gets to the back straight and try and get the best possible slingshot. Because look, if we're on board here with Dylan Christie in the 82 Team Pelfrey car, this will give you a very graphic demonstration of just how much of a difference the draft makes. So look, here we go, and just blast by the number 36 car of Colin Mullen with relative ease.
And let's stay on board here with Dylan. Can we go back on board with Dylan Christie? Because that was fun. I want to watch more, because here's one of the corners I love the most. Through the roller coaster here. This is where we've seen a lot of drivers tossing this little Skip Barber car around. Watch the opposite lock coming out of here, back through the downhill of turn number 15, through turn number 16. 17 is Hogpen. That's the final corner on the racetrack. They're pounding the curbs. One driver off further up there. Christie's going to have to stay to the inside. Dylan Christie in the Team Pelfrey number 82, a little ride around here with him. I love that part of the racetrack, the roller coaster, from 14 all the way over to 17, back to the front straightaway. Peter, I think that really displays how much these young drivers are tossing this car around.
It really does, and it's just, it couldn't be a better school for learning how to drive a race car with such efficiency, because, like you say, you're tossing it around. VIR probably has more rapid changes of direction than certainly any course I can think of off the top of my head. And of course, with this car, the engine is in the middle, and with that, all of a sudden, that real change of direction, you've got to manage that weight transfer really well. But look at the front here, Zachary Rivard. Well, he's not breaking away today like he did at Mid-Ohio, because he's got Esterson for company here, and this is a filler so far.
We are 4 laps into an 11-lap race, and one of the things I had said early was potential attack from Colin Mullen and Dylan Christie, the drivers in 3rd and 4th. They have not been able to mount any kind of push here to work their way back forward. It really has been Rivard and Esterson working together. Rivard with the Primus logo on the side of the number 27, but also running for his own Rivard Racing team. Of course, Esterson, we've already detailed the fact that he'll be with Team Pelfrey this year in the F1600 Championship Series. They'll work their way again through Oak Tree and get back out onto this long straightaway. A little bit of a kink there in the back of the straight, but man, they worked their way back up to 14 and 14A, down to 15, 16, and 17. Tremendous part of the racetrack. Here's Colin Mullen once again in the Window World machine. Right behind him, Dylan Christie. They're kind of going back and forth. Another potential pass for the lead. I think Esterson's going by. There's a side-by-side. Indeed, Esterson takes the lead before they get up to turn number 14, so pretty good run there as Esterson back to the front. And it doesn't seem, Peter, like the little scrap they're having, kind of going back and forth, it's not really hurting the amount of gap they have. This seems like it's going to kind of play out to be just a 2-driver battle to see who's going to win this thing, because it's not like Mullen and Christie have made any kind of inroads getting back up to the leaders.
No, they're both you're absolutely right, they're being incredibly smart here. Number 80 and the number 27 of Zachary Rivard, they're only passing each other when it's very easy to do so, as you see here, only on the straightaways. They know that they're both quick. They're probably the 2 standout drivers today. So they stay together on the infield and then make a pass each on the front straightaway. And all the while, they're just opening up the gap. It was about 2.5 seconds as they were coming through the last lap, and it's now up to nearly 3 seconds. And for Rivard, I mean, Rivard doesn't actually necessarily have to win this race, so he can be pretty conservative here. As long as he stays in company with Esterson, they're probably going to drive away. But, of course, as you know, you're a racer yourself. when it comes to those last couple of laps, sometimes you just can't help but resist the urge to go for the win.
And let's talk about that a bit as well for the championship. In a number of the other programs, there isn't really a lot up for grabs for the championship. There is actually here in the FRP iRacing Challenge, because the champion wins a $500 credit that can be applied to any 2020 Formula Race Promotions event. So, think about entry fees, whatever it may be. It's a $500 prize to be able to win the championship, $300 going to the vice champion, and a $100 credit going to the driver coming home third place in points. So there is cash, race money, up for grabs for whoever's going to get this championship. And as Peter, you have said, Zachary Rivard comes in with a nice little bit of a lead. He is running up front. He and Esterson, we're keying on this battle a little bit further back right now between Jackson Lee, Simon Sykes, Jason Pettit, Justin Hilly. Hilly, another driver in the championship battle, of course, second place in points now. And if it were to end as it is on track right now, Rivard would gap him pretty significantly, being able to pull away. We'll see what happens with those 2 bonus points for fast lap. Right now, what a good battle we're watching here right now. Jackson Lee 5th, Pettit making the move to the inside in the Brad Hayes Racing Machine. Another one of the Rice Race Prep cars, the 6 of Simon Sykes. And then you've got, I believe, Justin Hilly right in there as well. I love this. Great 4-driver battle. Very reminiscent of the Skip Barber National Championship races we saw back in the 2000s.
Yeah, and brilliant respect from all the drivers there. Of course, there's 4 drivers using a variety of lines, but all giving each other the necessary room. You know, Rob, you've always commentated in the real world a lot, and commentating on sim racing quite a lot now too. But I'm sure you've heard the netcode excuse being used more than once. And sometimes it applies, sometimes it doesn't. But you just maybe have to give that even a little bit extra room in sim racing than you do in the real world for that very reason. To explain what netcode is, it's basically when there's an ever so slight discrepancy between where you think the car is on the road and where the sim thinks it is. And it can be just a couple of millimeters, and it can be enough to clip wheels and cause an incident. And we've seen it a number of high-profile instances. But all the drivers, big props to them, because they're all racing very, very fair and clean. But look at Justin Hilly. He's made up 2 spots already on this lap, and he has got Simon Sykes in front of him. And hopefully he can use the pole sitter's pace to try and break away in a group of their own. Good news as well for Zachary Rivard. After his 2 race wins last time out at Mid-Ohio, he told us post-race that both him and his father have got a privateer effort, that they're trying to get some funds together for the racing. So a $500 credit, that's going to make a big difference.
Well, we had talked about the fact that Simon Sykes and Justin... Oh, Sykes almost throws it away, trying to save it, coming through Oak Tree. Through turn number 11, Simon Sykes had that Skip Barber car all crossed up. Able to bring it back, but that's going to bring everybody back into the fight. Hilly right there. I was going to say that both Sykes and Hilly were able to get by Megan Gilks. Then we're able to close up on Jackson Lee and Jason Pettit. They were able to get by there, but that big almost wreck for the number 6 of Simon Sykes is bought both Pettit and Lee back into the fight. 2 by 2 going up into turn number 14. Hold on down through the roller coaster. Drivers getting themselves ready to go. Wow, Hilly, though, has made the move. He has gone to P5, again, trying to salvage what's going on here in this championship fight. Hilly back to 5th.
That was fantastic stuff from Justin Hilly there. He's really got to push hard now, and he is very much at risk along this front stretch. It's a long drag up the hill, and he's got Simon Sykes right behind him. So if Justin Hilly can get into turn 1 and crucially get out of turn 1 in the lead of that pack, he can then push and try to make a break and trying to break the toe. We think it's about half a second. So if you look on the timing screen and a car is within half a second of the one in front, they are close enough to get some effect from the draft.
I just think it's going to be really hard for Justin Hilly right now, because our top 4 drivers, that pairing of 2, are really kind of working together. In fact, Simon Sykes, aggressive move to go back down to the inside of Hilly. Here comes Jason Pettit to the inside as well. He'll take that spot. But Pettit moves him up into 6th. Hilly goes back to 7th. Jackson Lee to 8th. So this is a tremendous scrap here. And I got to feel like they think they're battling for P5, because there's no way they're going to be able to catch up to the drivers up front, because 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th, respectively, Esterson and Rivard, Mullen and Christie working together and not stressing, not making any dive moves. They're just working together. They're kind of passing back and forth on the straightaway to make sure they have the full momentum. It's actually textbook racing for both of those groupings. This fight here, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, pretty much just an entertaining battle on its own right now, Peter.
Yeah, I think the number 75 of Jason Pettit, I think that fantastic move that he pulled in towards turn 5 in the snake there, or I think it was maybe the left hook at turn 4, put a really good decisive move on Justin Hilly. I think that move says all you need to know, that they have no interest in working together with Justin Hilly. So Justin Hilly is really the best he can hope for, is just to be able to break away or at least finish at the front of this little pack here and then go into race 2 and go for it from there.
You also mentioned the 2 points up for grabs. Fast lap on the racetrack so far. Max Esterson, a 2:08.21, I believe. Yeah, he's got the quickest lap, so that's 2 points for Esterson. But again, remember, he did miss Mid-Ohio, so even though very good success at Road Atlanta, he comes in 8th place in points and essentially out of a shot to try to win this championship. Zach Rivard, of course, in the driver's seat right now. And it's funny. Actually, we'll watch. Here's this battle again between Colin Mullen in the 36 and Dylan Christie in the 82. These guys having a good scrap for 3rd and 4th. But, you know, Peter, you mentioned netcode, and you're right. I've learned about netcode in the 20-something races I've announced here on, or helped announce here on iRacing since the shutdown in mid-March. I can't wait to get back out to a racetrack. And when I see a wreck happen on track, I want to pull the old netcode out, say that on the microphone, and I want to wait to see some smiles and potential grins from the drivers or people in the grandstands wondering what I'm talking about.
Yes, it is one of these sort of I don't know, the one that you have a sort of quiet smirk about the netcode excuse. In many cases, it is a genuine excuse. You know, I'll give you an example. I was actually, thanks to the folks at Performance Tech Motorsports, I had great fun last night driving at Mid-Ohio in an Honda HPD LMP2 car, and was racing with some real-world IMSA drivers who very much taught me a lesson on how to drive a race car. And James French, former IMSA Prototype Challenge champion, he was actually driving not only with a VR headset, but the whole thing running off the mobile internet hotspot on his phone. That boggles my mind that a mobile phone can run something like this.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I would have said it was not the truth, not the case. James French, of course, a tremendous driver. We get to see him run a number of different programs. He saw him at Road America actually as well. He ran an Indy Lights race with Bilardi Auto Racing a number of years ago. Quality young man for sure, and a great driver. And great to see him, of course, on the sim as well. And he's one of those guys that'll drive anything. Earlier this year, he was in a 4-cycle go-kart actually down in Homestead, Florida as part of the SCUSA Winter Series in a Margay Ignite chassis, and that was a lot of fun. He just, you give him a chance to drive it, he'll drive it for sure. And I'm glad you had a chance to do some driving with James. Definitely a good shoe. And I'll tell you, we can say the same thing about all 4 of these drivers. This has been clean racing, and the drivers have been throwing these cars around, Peter. But Hilly, Sykes, Pettit, Lee, all talented young drivers trying to work their way up the ranks, and I think all deserving of an opportunity to continue moving forward, because what we're seeing right now here is this is just tremendous fun to watch.
It really is. You're seeing the racecraft ability of these drivers, and strong move there, Justin Hilly. We just saw a small puff of smoke from his Hoosier tire there, and that just made Simon Sykes go offline a little bit. Now, we should watch very closely here that the red and gold car at the front of this pack, Justin Hilly, can he make a breakaway? If he can he just needs to get a purple sector, his best sector possible in the next couple of sectors before they reach the back straight, and maybe he might be able to make a break for it. But it's just so difficult here at VIR to break away from a group.
You know what he'd need? He would need Simon Sykes to make an aggressive move in the next couple of corners, at least let's say 3 or 4 corners, to try to get by Jason Pettit. If he can get in there deep and kind of push him out a little bit, that may allow him to pull away. But instead, Pettit coming through that S's section, 7, 8, 9, and 10, back up here to Oak Tree again, through turn number 10. They'll go back to 11. And that's a great part of this racetrack, as we talked about. Drivers really working hard, getting into the braking zone now here, back through Oak Tree. This is where we saw Sykes have some trouble getting on the brakes a little later on, but good exit out of there. That's a strong exit out of Oak Tree, and that's going to be crucial. He'll get a good run, but again, with that draft, Peter, we've talked about it. Watch for Pettit to be able to just tuck right back in.
Do you know, I think Hilly might just have it. He just got he got a really good exit out of South Bend coming into Oak Tree, and then, as you said, a really good exit out of Oak Tree. So if he can defend here, but here comes Simon Sykes. But Simon Sykes is having to go around the outside here. This is going to be really tight here, but I think Justin Hilly's just made it in front. Oh, once more, Justin Hilly is leading into the final sector of the lap more often than not. So I suppose that's good news for him as we are approaching already the end result of this race. We've only got 2 to go. I can't believe it's nearly the end already.
Indeed, as they work their way out of the final corner, of course, their leader, Max Esterson and Zachary Rivard, have already come across the line to start lap number 10, so 2 more laps remaining here. Look at these guys continuing to battle it out. Hilly on the outside. Here comes Jason Pettit thinking about coming deep down the inside of turn number 1. He'll be able to take the spot away from Hilly, and Jackson Lee coming in there as well, but he has to check up. Hilly goes all the way around the outside. He'll think to the inside of turn number 3, wants to take that spot back, that 6th position, taking it back from Pettit. Little slide job on the exit of turn number 3. This is tremendous stuff right now through turn 4. This is turn 4 here right now. Left hook, and they'll cut back to the right for turns 5 and 5A and 5 and 5A. Not an A and B, just 5 and 5A. This has just been great racing. We've seen essentially 3 of the 4 drivers here lead this group for P5. This is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And again, Sykes, Hilly, Pettit, and Lee. Penultimate lap. Up front, Max Esterson continues to set the pace.
I said this, it's impossible to call an order. It's almost like just put in the lotto balls and pick a winner. I mean, these 4 guys, it could be any. Interesting, though, Jackson Lee, he's been the guy who's sat at the back of this group. He's never left touch with it. Of course, he's right there on the gearbox of Jason Pettit, but he's been the one who's probably done the least work. He's probably worked, he's not had to work as hard as the other. Now that, he could just be keeping his powder dry, but just as I say that, look at this, have we got 2 micro groups starting to emerge here? We might well do.
I'll tell you this right now for sure. We're also going to be watching fast laps. Indeed, as you said, Simon Sykes and Justin Hilly trying to see if they can't pull away from Jackson Lee and Jason Pettit. Lee making a move to the inside to slide by Jason Pettit, move him back a couple of spots now as we're coming to complete the penultimate lap. We're seeing fast laps get laid down right now. A 2:08.21 for Esterson, still the best, but a 2:08.28 for Rivard, a 2:08.36 for Dylan Christie. So fast lap. Remember, we'll put you on the pole for race number 2. We'll come back to the leader here now, folks. It's the final circuit around VIR, race 1 of the doubleheader. And again, Zachary Rivard, impressive here once again. 2 wins at Mid-Ohio, trying to grab another podium finish here to grab a firm grasp on that potential championship victory that will be worth $500 in credit for the series moving into 2020. But he's still got a couple of corners to get through. They're through now turn number 4, that left hook, back through 5, and then 6 onto the twisty back straightaway here now. Rather, the first of the 2 back straightaways, Peter, to be honest, but here they come. This is the lead group. They formed up early. These 2 drivers have worked absolutely perfectly together.
They really have. They've not put a foot wrong, and that was pretty much the same as Zachary Rivard managed last time out of Mid-Ohio in both races. And look at this. He's just in the perfect position to get a good draft down the back straight. And if he wants the bonus point for fastest lap, well, what better way to do it than to get a big old drag down this back straight. So down they come into Oak Tree Corner, absolutely millimeter perfect through that corner, and down the straight we go. So who is going to make it? Is Rivard going to challenge Esterson, or is he happy to think about the championship and just follow him home? Who knows?
Well, a good run coming out of Oak Tree. Gave himself a little bit of room to be able to really take full advantage of the draft. Here comes Rivard. He'll move to the inside as they work their way up here into 14. Again, trying to hold the inside. It's that kind of left-hand cruise up the top here. Indeed, he comes through. Back around, but Esterson back to the inside. Coming back through again.
Yeah, Esterson, he's not got to worry about the championship. Rivard does, and Rivard, he gave him plenty of room there. No room for netcode there.
Yeah, side by side coming out of the final corner. It'll be a drag race to the line. We see a lot of these in the F1600 Championship Series. They're going to be side by side. Who is going to take it when they come across the line? And by 4 thousandths of a second, Zach Rivard. Back to back to back jacks. He wins 3 races in a row. And here's the fight between Colin Mullen and Dylan Christie. Colin Mullen ends up 3rd, Dylan Christie in 4th. The fight at the very end, Justin Hilly coming through for 5th. Jason Pettit 6th, Simon Sykes in 7th. Kyle August 8th, Megan Gilks in 9th. What happened to Jackson Lee falling down the order? Capping the top 10, Ryan Bjerke. But I'll tell you, Peter, 4 thousandths of a second. The run out of the final corner turned 17. The full draft for Zachary Rivard. He wins his third race in a row, a photo finish for round number 5.
That was an absolutely extraordinary finish and brilliant star quality there from Zachary Rivard. Absolutely extraordinary. We thought that he had me fooled. I don't know if he had Max Esterson fooled, but he had me fooled when he let Esterson go and gave him plenty of room. Very fair coming through the roller coaster, but then used that drag up the hill. We talked about it when we were off air before the show, and Zachary Rivard played that absolutely to perfection, and that gives him a pretty comfortable cushion as we head into race 2, and we will update you shortly with those championship standings.
Yeah, indeed, a tremendous run for Zachary Rivard. We'll have a look again at the final order. Max Esterson coming home in the second spot. A good return to competition for Max as he ends up P2, but Zachary Rivard with just an absolute tremendous run to take the race win. We're going to see, hopefully, if we can get Zach to join us here in the commentary booth here momentarily. As I had said before, we will have a 10-minute warm-up session between the two races. So if we're able to get an interview, we'll see. Otherwise, we will break off into our little warm-up here and give about a 10-minute shot before we come back. So I'll give you the top 10 to cap things off here, as I don't think we're going to have anybody coming to join us. Zachary Rivard with the race win, 3 in a row to give him such a strong position in the points. Just lost my live timing, so I can't even give you the top 10. But again, as we had said, Max Esterson coming home second. Colin Mullen, a great run to third as he's able to outrun Dylan Christie. A good scrap between those two drivers. Race long for third and fourth. And, of course, Justin Hilly coming out on top of that 4-driver battle that ended up with Jackson Lee falling down the order. Well, race number 1 of the doubleheader here at VIR is done, folks. The final race of Season 2 of the FRP iRacing Challenge presented by Hoosier Tires will be up here in about 10 minutes' time. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you stick around because we have one more opportunity to watch these young drivers of the F1600 Championship Series, the F2000 Championship Series, and several drivers from Ontario and Quebec F1600 Racing battling it out for the final race, as we said, of this particular program. Don't go anywhere, folks. We got more to come. Welcome back, folks, to live coverage of the final round of the FRP iRacing Challenge presented by Hoosier Tire, the doubleheader to cap off Season 2 here at the Virginia International Raceway. We were just treated to a tremendous battle there. And in fact, not so much a battle, if not a textbook run by the two drivers up front. Of course, Zach Rivard and Max Esterson pulling away from the field and just kind of going back and forth. We jump back in here quickly while the drivers continue to warm up for race number 2 of the doubleheader here today, because we were able to track down Zach Rivard. And Zach, 3 straight victories. Of course, you dominated the action at Mid-Ohio, but you and Max, I think, pulled the kind of textbook run. You get away from everybody, you work together for 10 laps, and then you battle it out for the final circuit. First off, walk us through that last lap and tell us how you feel about getting the victory today.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. I thought Max was maybe a little quicker than I was throughout the race, but this kind of track with the draft, I could be about half a second back leading onto the back straight and still be able to go by him. So I didn't want him to slow down and let me pass and make me tow him, so I kind of gave him a bit of a gap. And yeah, I went for it on the back straight and it didn't work. So I thought I may have lost it, and it was obviously maybe a lot closer than I would have liked, but I'm glad I was able to pull it out at the end.
Well, that obviously leads to the second question, because you kind of back things up at Oak Tree, got a really good run out of there. You pulled the draft, had the slipstream, you went by him, but you weren't quite able to get the job done at the top of the hill there, and he was able to slip back by. Of course, as always, I know anybody that's got any kind of F1600 experience knows that the run to the line at VIR is always going to be 2, 3, 4 cars wide. You guys end up going side by side. I'm not sure if you know how close it was, but it was 4 thousandths of a second you were able to nip him at the line. Did you know it was that close?
Yeah, I was looking at my relative to see like exactly when I passed him, and it was like just before the line on the ground. So it was.
So obviously the championship is in good position right now. You'll approach this final race as you need to. Of course, $500 in series credit up for grabs for that. We're looking forward to seeing what you're able to do here in race number 2. We believe Max is going to be on the pole position. Peter, did you get that figured out yet? No, we'll wait.
Yes, I didn't get the lap times, but basically, if Hilly were to win the race, then Zach could finish 6th and still win that $500 check.
There you go, Zach. We gave you a little bit of an update there. First off, tell us who you want to thank. Obviously, a big win for you. Who do you want to talk about here right now?
Definitely Thursday Pools, Ed and Pilar, my dad, my cousin Miles, who helped me out in the real world, and obviously FRP and Hoosier and Primus Racing Part.
Strategy for race number 2, or is that something you're going to keep close to the vest?
I mean, I'm gonna try not to wreck, to tell you the truth.
That's the first step.
I think
that's good strategy.
Well, Zach, listen, we'll let you go. We know you got to get things back dialed in. Congratulations on your 3rd straight win, man. What a great streak you've had midway through the season here. Good luck in the finale, and we could potentially be talking to you here back up in the commentary booth about winning a championship. Good luck.
All right, thanks, guys. Keep it up.
Peter, pretty impressive run for Zach Rivard there. I like the honesty, right? Straight up, the fact that he tried it coming out of Oak Tree and coming all the way down the back straightaway, but wasn't able to quite get it done. But then, of course, that run through 15, 16, 17, you got to have the car placed in the right spot to get enough run out. He gets the job done. 4 thousandths of a second at the line. And I think this all really just kind of lines up for what should be another tremendous 11-lap battle.
Well, if Zachary is going to take the championship here, he certainly will have deserved it, because he really had to use every single trick in the book there to take that win. And actually, do you know what? He didn't necessarily have to even win that race, and I'm sure that was going through his mind. But as we said, the racer's instinct just kicks in. Sometimes you just can't say no. Go for that checkered flag. So as we said during the interview there, if Justin Hilly were to win the race, then Zach can still finish in 6th and take that championship crown.
So, folks, we are still a couple minutes away from getting back at it. Stay tuned here on Apex Racing TV. We'll have the second end of the doubleheader at VIR after this quick break. Welcome back, folks, to Virginia International Raceway and what will be the final round of the FRP iRacing Challenge presented by Hoosier Tire. We're going to jump right on in. Myself, Rob Howden, alongside Peter Mackay. We'll give you the lineup. Zachary Rivard, we're being shown here as the pole sitter in that number 27. We thought it was going to be Max Esterson, but they've got Rivard. Maybe it was the very final lap. He was able to steal it away, so Rivard goes P1. He'll be on the front row alongside Esterson, the two drivers we saw pull away. Not surprisingly, that second group of Colin Mullen and Dylan Christie will again be together on row number 2. Mullen in the Race Prep number 36. Christie in the number 82 for Team Pelfrey.
On the third row of the grid, in 5th position, Justin Hilly in the 48, the only man who can now stop Zach Rivard from winning this FRP iRacing Challenge. In 6th will be Jason Pettit, 7th Simon Sykes, and 8th Kyle August in the 07 Rice Racing Prep car.
Moving down to row number 5 and 6, the young Canadian lady Megan Gilks for Vallis Motorsports. A good run there in the opening round. She'll start 9th in the 49 alongside Ryan Bjerke in the Bjerke Motorsports 42. Row number 6, Nolan Alar came from deep in the field to work his way up to 11th in the 11 machine for LTD Motorsports. He'll start on the inside of that row. Outside of row 6, another driver for Team Pelfrey, Dexter Zuba.
In 13th will be the Canadian Tim Wilkin, followed by his countryman Andrew Doby in the 93. 15th will be another Canadian, Connor Klubine in the 65. And 16th, Charles Ante in the number 26 anti-speed competition car.
Let's go back to row number 9 and 10. William Liston in the number 13 for List Race Car, starting 17th alongside the Canadian Matt Clark in the number 64. Well, row number 10, 19th and 20th respectively, Brian Farnham in the 15 and Chris Kearse in the number 9.
In 21st, it's the man with the fastest name in the field, Ayrton Hook, and joining him on that row in 22nd is Jackson Lee in the 52, who was involved quite far up the front in race 1. In 23rd will be Zachary Vanier, and 24th, Omar Khan.
We'll cap off the field here with the final 3 drivers. Bob Perrone in the 73, starting 25th. Jean-Christophe Trahan, one of the front runners at Mid-Ohio, starting in the 26th spot after an early race incident. And Chris Wright will wrap up the field of 27 drivers we have set to go here at VIR. Again, big thank you to those of you joining us here on Apex Racing TV. And on behalf of Peter, great to be part of the commentary team for this particular series. And again, an awesome opportunity to watch some of the top young talented drivers in open wheel racing in North America going at it here. Of course, they'll be back on track in a number of the different series, the F1600 Championship Series, the F2000 Championship Series with FRP. And of course, as we said, kind of a Can-Am program here, a Canadian and American. A lot of Canadian drivers who will be featured, of course, up in the events in Canada, in Ontario, and Quebec. Some great racing up there as well. And I know, kind of interesting, Peter, as they work their way through Oak Tree before coming back to the green flag to get this underway, a number of the Canadian drivers taking an opportunity, I think, here running this iRacing program with FRP, because I know that a number of them, talking to them, thinking about trying to go south to run a couple of the F1600 Championship Series races in 2020. So a good opportunity to race against some of the drivers that could be competing against later this year.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot that you can learn about your fellow competitors here in iRacing. Obviously, it's a very similar type of car to the F16 and F2000 cars. And really, this is, for those watching and enjoying this is exactly what everyone says we should have in motor racing. Low downforce, low grip, and aggressive young drivers. This is everything that everybody wants in motorsport. Close battles, parity of competition, and some, as we heard from Zach there, some great personalities too. Indeed,
this is a field packed with young talent and young personalities as well, and that's the great thing about motorsports, I think, folks, is we all, there's the colors of the car, there's the liveries, there's the teams, but there's always that person behind the wheel, man or woman. One thing I love about motorsports, the car has no idea how old the person is driving, if it's a young woman, if it's a young man, if it's somebody a little further on in age. Experience does not matter. All you got to do is do the right things with the wheel, the right thing with the pedals, and that puts on the show. Drivers kind of lining up already. Pace car hasn't even pulled off yet. And big jump there for Rivard. Almost contact with the pace car. We are green to start the final race of the FRP iRacing Challenge. Rivard gets the jump. He will lead down into turn number 1. Esterson sliding into second. Christie and Mullen looking to rekindle the fight. Remember, though, they fell back to third and fourth and were not able to stay with the leaders. This time, trying to see if they can't get a better jump out of turn number 1 and turn number 2. Over to NASCAR Bend for the first time. We'll follow them through to left hook. Again, underway. Looks like a little bit of contact further back, but a much cleaner start mid-pack on back, Peter, than we saw in race number 1.
Yeah, and just watching Zachary Rivard very closely there, he made a really good jump. Like you say, nearly ran into the back of the Porsche 911 safety car, but got a great run, but very, very cautious into turn 1 and the subsequent 2 or 3 bends, and that allowed Max Esterson to get past. Now, this is going to be absolutely vital. If Zachary Rivard gets involved in a big pack, that is not what he wants for this championship. And look who is in that front group that has broke away already. His championship competitor, Justin Hilly.
3 drivers involved in an opening corner incident. Megan Gilks, Dexter Zuba, and Connor Klubine have all headed to pit lane to make some repairs to the car to try to get back out onto the racetrack. But indeed, a 5-driver breakaway, as Peter had talked about. Maybe even actually make it, I think it's actually 6 drivers now. Max Esterson leading. Colin Mullen runs in second. Zachary Rivard in third. Dylan Christie in fourth. Simon Hilly in fifth. So the front-running quintet, indeed, a little further back to that driver right there for race prep, the number 6 of Simon Sykes. He runs now in the 6th spot. 7th is Jason Pettit. 8th, Kyle August. 9th, Ryan Bierke. And a good start for Matt Clark as he now jumps up. That is your early top 10 here as we're still working the opening circuit. And in fact, new leader Colin Mullen has been able to go by. And I don't think we should be surprised, Peter, because these drivers up front do not want to see Esterson and Rivard get away like they did in race 1. They'll do whatever they can to keep these guys in the middle of this pack.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think already this just shows you how important the draft is. Looking at this group of 5 cars, they're all really, really quick, all separated by very little on the timesheets. And the fact that they're all together and all going to be dicing, well, that's going to make it very difficult for Rivard or Esterson or any of these guys to break away. Now, if you're Justin Hilly, what do you do here? Because Justin Hilly, he's got to win this race. Otherwise, if he's got any aspirations to win this championship, he has to win. But of course, winning it is not enough. And because Zachary Rivard got the fastest lap in race 1, that means that actually he can finish 7th and still win this championship. So he can even finish at the back of this 5-pack group here, and that would be enough. So for Justin Hilly, he's got to get his elbows out, he's got to roll his sleeves up and try and start overtaking some of these guys and slow the group down, because at the moment, it's not going to be enough for him to win the championship.
Yeah, indeed, that's a great point, Peter. Not only does he need to get to the front to get the victory, but he needs to get to the front so that he can control or attempt to control kind of the pace being set by this lead quintet, because he needs Simon Sykes. He needs Burton August to work his way up here as well. I know it says Kyle on the screen, but I believe on live time or on our points, it's Burton. I think Kyle goes by Burton. At least that's what I have here. We needed to get an update on that. But we'll call him Kyle for now, but he and August, or rather Kyle August and Simon Sykes, they need to get up there. If Hilly has any opportunity to win this thing, he needs as many guys in the lead group as he can. The only thing about trying to set the pace of the lead group, Peter, I think we've seen it. We saw it in the opening race. The minute you're up front, you're going back at least one spot almost every lap. Every time we go down these long straightaways, whoever's in second or third is going back to the front.
You're absolutely right. And the only thing that Justin Hilly can do is start to make a move. And here he goes. He's going up beside Zachary Rivard here into the roller coaster. Now, if you're Rivard, what do you do here? Do you just hang on the back there? If he's got a good spotter, we know that some of the drivers will have their own spotter. Some of them will just use the iRacing automatic spotter. If you've got a good spotter, he'll be keeping them up to date with how the championship sits. And right now, he's very much in the right position to win this title.
I think if the mindset is going for a race win, he's going to try to get himself back out front. But the mindset is, hey, I really want this championship. I want to win this $500 credit for series entry fees here in 2020. All he's got to do is keep himself on the gearbox of Justin Hilly. That's all he needs to do, because as long as he's got Hilly right in front of him, he's got this thing locked and loaded. We do know that a couple drivers trying to come back, the two drivers from race prep, both Simon Sykes and Kyle August, trying to work their way back into this lead group, and that could change the storyline a little bit. It might alter the narrative, but at this point, Rivard, who we know is unbelievably quick, sitting P5. Sykes up on the throttle, though. He's working his way closer, so we're going to have ourselves potentially a 7-car battle here if Kyle August can get up there as well. But again, as they run, this is a good position here, I think, for Rivard. He doesn't need to get too pressured. He's just going to see what he can do with Hilly.
Well, here comes Simon Sykes, our pole sitter. Remember, was the fastest man in qualifying, so he knows how to put the very best lap together here at VIR. And of course, Kyle August is doing a great job of hanging on the back of that light blue car of Simon Sykes. And from what I can tell here, yep, it looks like Simon Sykes is close enough here to join this group. So now we have a 7-car train. We have the Skip Barber train going down the back straight. This is just fantastic stuff.
Well, the draft is so big here at VIR, isn't it? That's going to allow these drivers to suck right back up. Good scrap here. We're going to end up with 7 drivers in the lead group. Here goes Rivard. Indeed, that answers the question here. Rivard's going to make the move past Hilly, coming up to that turn 14 section of this racetrack, the kind of the end of the back straightaway. Oh, driver potentially off the racetrack. That was Mullen. Mullen into the grass. Rivard's got to watch himself here. This is where you don't want to get caught up in somebody else's mistake. And I think Rivard breathed a little bit there, coming back down here through roller coaster. And that was, I think, a key move there for Rivard. Don't throw it away. Some trouble, of course, for Mullen. Rivard will go to the inside. We're on board with the point leader right now. Thursday Pools, the sponsor. You can see it on the car for Rivard Motorsports. Good run for Zach right now. He'll get the big toe down the straightaway. And there's a good look at the draft right there, Peter. He gets that draft, even tucks to the inside, kind of defending to the inside of the racetrack. Rivard goes to P3.
Well, I tell you what there, he's just put in the fastest lap of the whole race, Zachary Rivard there. Thursday Pools, you have backed the right horse, because last time out in Mid-Ohio, we saw Zachary Rivard absolutely disappear on his own and do 2 perfect races with no cars around him. What we're also seeing now with a championship, real pressure, real money on the line, $500 is a lot for a privateer like Zach Rivard, and he is really driving very cleverly and giving the guys plenty of room, but obviously not losing any pace either, and that takes real maturity. He is showing here, virtual or real, doesn't matter, he is showing that he has this real set of attributes to be a proper top-line driver. It's very impressive to watch.
You know what, I think if any of the people in the paddock take anything away from this particular program, this iRacing platform and what the drivers have done, those that approach it with the same level of professionalism, the same respect as they would outdoor racing, I think you're going to get a lot of respect from those inside the paddock. Because this is not really a platform, especially when we're trying to entertain some people, give an opportunity for these drivers to get seat time. This is when real racing and the same approach, I think, is what is going to earn respect from a lot of people. And I know that, the last couple of races, I want to give a little shout out here to Speedy Dan Clark. He was with us for the first couple of races, of course. Dan, of course, a longtime professional race car driver, was going to be with Brad Hayes Racing again for this particular run here at VIR, but I posted a little note on the YouTube chat saying that real-life testing is beckoning. So Dan back behind the wheel of a real race car. We appreciate him coming to run with us for a couple of events as he did. Giving these young drivers an opportunity to race with a guy with a ton of experience.
You're absolutely correct. And I think what this is also showing, this is showing just how entertaining this category of motorsport is. And like you say, approaching with professionalism is so important. Of course, there's been a couple of very high-profile examples of some very high-profile drivers getting themselves into hot bother by not treating this with a professional attitude, and that's been very much to their cost. And you also talk about entertainment. I mean, if you don't find this entertaining, you don't like motor racing, because this is just fantastic. Watching these drivers swap position every lap, and well, look at that. Zach Rivard back to 5th now, but Justin Hilly, he is in 7th, and we've lost. Look at that. Justin Hilly has lost the pack. That is critical, and I'm sure Zachary Rivard will be aware.
Yeah, Peter, that's got to be a turning point in the championship here for sure in this particular final run, because Hilly, whatever issue it was, he's by himself on the racetrack right now. He was right in the middle of the fight. We'll pick up Justin Hilly here in that number 48 machine. Of course, a winner at Road Atlanta, came in just 6 points behind Zach Rivard in the fight for the championship here in Season 2 of the FRP iRacing Challenge. He is all by himself on the racetrack. Jason Pettit behind him, Brian Farnham, and Matt Clark wrapping up the top 10. But this is going to be it for Hilly. There's no way that he's going to be able to catch this lead group, because they are all working the draft. He's falling back. So right now, it's kind of in the hands of Zach Rivard. As long as he's able to stay clean, we're just coming to the halfway point now. 5 laps, working lap number 5 of the 11 that we'll have in this particular race. A little bit of a gap here right now for Max Esterson as he's trying to stretch away. They're going to go by Dexter Zuba here right now, indeed. And in fact, no, we'll have a move to the inside. Here comes one of the Team Pelfrey drivers as well, Dylan Christie. He and Esterson tested at VIR this past weekend on Friday and Saturday. And I'll tell you, Peter, they're taking full advantage of that real-life experience to now set the pace here at the front of the final round of the series.
They really are, and it just shows you how seat time is seat time, and it all makes a difference in either virtual or real-world motorsport. Another mention for Zachary Rivard, for him, like you say, he's just got to keep his nose clean, because Justin Hilly, if Justin Hilly were to finish in 7th position or better, and Zachary Rivard wasn't to score, that would be enough for Hilly to win the championship. And it's very easy to do when you've got a pack of 5 or 6 cars like we do here, all battling for position, and of course none of them have a championship to worry about. So Zach Rivard has got to keep being clever, keep applying that same strategy. We heard him in his interview after race 1. He says he just wants to avoid the wrecks. He's really got to concentrate on that right now, because Hilly is still in a position to win the championship if Rivard weren't to score.
And indeed, the 07 of Burton August able to get by Zach Rivard. And so Rivard kind of slotting back now into the 6th position, exactly where he needs to be. And in fact, if he runs here at the tail of this group, no trouble whatsoever, stays out of contact with any of these drivers, but still able to leverage that draft, he is going to be in good shape right now. We are watching a good battle up front. Esterson continues to set the pace, able to get back around Christie. You got a couple of race prep drivers there. So, in fact, this is a good lineup. You got 2 Team Pelfrey drivers, 1st and 2nd. Race prep now in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Then the privateer of Rivard running there in the 6th position. And that's what it's all about for him. He has about a 5-second lead, even more than that. In fact, Hilly has fallen down the order even more. Could be more issues with Justin Hilly, and he has fallen all the way down the order. Peter, I'm not sure what's going on with Justin Hilly, but he is out of the top 10 now. Trouble for the driver. 3 wide, though, up to the top of the hill.
Yeah, we get a replay here of Justin Hilly. Let's see what happened there. He dropped right off the order. He's coming into Oak Tree Corner, just runs wide. That's such an easy mistake to make. Loses the back end, and with that, loses his chance at this title. Zachary Rivard's just got to bring it home then. Let's see who's going to win this race, though.
Yeah, indeed, we still have a lot of laps to go to see who's going to be standing on top of the podium at the end of the day and who will be able to potentially interview up in the commentary box. But again, this is a great scrap up front. How about 3 wide? Thinking about it, I want to say that Rivard maybe backed out of that a little bit as he was in the middle of a scrap with Esterson. Max Esterson was in the lead in that big battle. We had just kind of cut away from it when they went 3 wide coming up to the top of the hill in 14. That moved Esterson back quite a ways. In fact, he is all the way back behind Hunter August now in that number 07. So, rather Burton August. So this is an interesting development because we all have a 3-driver breakaway up front now. Sykes, Christie, and Colin Mullen. So whatever we missed, Peter, when we were looking at that replay, a ton of stuff happened on the racetrack now. We got a 3-driver breakaway.
We certainly do, and I think you've got to give a huge shout out to Simon Sykes because he's climbed 6 spots through, let's be honest, a very fiercely competed field. So for him to fight his way all the way to the front shows that he's got brilliant pace. And of course, as you quite rightly mentioned, for these Hoosier tires, they last quite well, and tire management isn't necessarily such an issue, so you can really just go flat out from the beginning. So he won't have burnt up his tire trying to break through the group, and well, he could be the favourite for this race. We'll see.
Indeed, working lap number 7 right now, so still 4 laps remaining. These 3 drivers trying to pull away a couple of the race prep cars, those baby blue machines, ready to put the pressure on Dylan Christie. Of course, Dylan, though, has been good throughout the entire program, both the opening round and, of course, this round as well. He had to skip the 2nd rounds at Mid-Ohio. Here's a move to the inside, comes Rivard. He's going to try to go to P4, and indeed battle up in front of him. Rivard going to hold the spot to the inside. He'll take the position away from August, so move August back to 5th. 6 now, Esterson. The front 3, though, pulled away. Sykes, Christie, and Mullen. I want to say the Rivard's closing back up here. It was a bigger gap at one point, less than a second now between Rivard and Mullen. He's trying to pull away from the guys in front of him. And you mentioned that 1.5 second kind of bracket there, Peter, where you need to be within that to get the draft. He's still within about a second and going to try to see if he can't leverage everything he can as we're potentially going 3 wide for the lead in turn number 1.
Yeah, also, Zach Rivard coming into the roller coaster at the end of the back straight.
Trouble for Sykes there. Sorry, Peter, trouble for Sykes. He almost looped it coming through turn number 1. We'll come back to your comment, but Sykes tried to roll too much speed through turn number 1. The rear end broke loose on him. A ton of entry oversteer. He has fallen back into the clutches, and both Rivard and August had to check up. That allowed Esterson to climb through and get the spots to move Esterson now to 3rd, Sykes back to 4th, August in 5th, and Rivard probably kind of a little bit sweaty there after seeing the incident in front of him. He still runs P6, but it's a 2-driver breakaway now with Dylan Christie and Colin Mullen.
Yeah, if you've got a championship to win, that is not what you want to see in front of you. A driver, Simon Sykes, spinning round in front of you and possibly causing a big pile-up wreck. Thankfully, they all got through clean, which is good. But like you say, we have a 2-car breakaway now between Dylan Christie and Colin Mullen, and they have the pace to be able to keep that advantage. Another mention of Zach Rivard, who's saying coming into the roller coaster, he really makes that outside line work, and of course that gives him the inside line into the next corner, and he's made that move work really clean, and also given him plenty of breathing space to avoid contact as well.
So the gap now between 2nd and 3rd, almost a full 2 seconds. So that 1.5 seconds we talked about for the use of the draft may not work now as Sykes able to go back down to the inside here. Esterson tucks back to the inside as they work their way up here to 14. Simon Sykes, who had that issue, we talked about how quick he was. He was able to work his way to the lead, but that minor oversteer on the entry of 1 has dropped him back down into now the 3rd position. We'll see whether or not, they're indeed closing. They've gained probably 0.3 of a second over the last 5 or 6 laps. Mullen still your leader, though, here by about 0.3. Call that maybe a length and a half as they work their way back down the straightaway. Christie will take full advantage of the draft. He'll tuck right back in. Working lap number 9, just 3 more laps to go, Peter, to cap off the season.
Yeah, and I think we're in for a grandstand finish between Mullen and Christie. I think it's going to be, could be a straight fight between them, but, if Esterson and Sykes, we know that they've got a lot of ultimate pace as well. Could be that they all bunch together and we end up with a real dogfight coming into the last couple of laps. I have to say, these drivers have put on a spectacular show for us today.
Yeah, I think it's the best race that we've seen of the 3 that we've called. Road Atlanta, of course, a really challenging track, and a number of drivers struggled there, but for the most part, it was a pretty good race. We did see a couple incidents. A little bit more at Mid-Ohio. It's a really tough place to pass. We saw drivers kind of get a little aggressive trying to make maneuvers there. But this has been just some tremendous racing. Of course, here in the top 10, it's just been absolutely awesome to watch. The opening race, of course, a couple of 2-driver breakaways that made things a little calmer up front. But that battle, 6th, 7th, 8th, or rather 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th was tremendously fun to watch. Now we're seeing 3 pairings. Peter, gonna pull away here. Mullen and Christie, and it's Esterson and Sykes, and August and Rivard, as Colin Mullen has gone back to the lead, but this is going to give an opportunity for both, I think, Esterson and Sykes to close up to make it a good fight. We got 3 to go, maybe 2.5 to go. Get ready. This is going to be a tremendous finish.
Yep, Sykes just made a small mistake there coming out of Oak Tree, and the exit of Oak Tree is the most important section anywhere on the circuit because that gives you your run all the way down the straight, and of course that gives August and Rivard the chance to go, and of course Rivard goes to his familiar outside line coming down here into the roller coaster. But you have to take your hat off to these drivers as well, because 2 races around this VIR circuit is very, very difficult. You cannot afford to make any mistake here, and yet the driver is constantly under pressure. Even going down the back straight, you're worrying about the car in front for the draft and behind you. And actually, Carroll Shelby, who won the first ever feature race here at VIR in a Maserati, he said 100 laps at Watkins Glen is like 1 lap of VIR. And who would argue with Carroll Shelby?
On board now here with Max Esterson as he tucks in behind Colin Mullen. Has been able to make the move. You watch these cars spinning around. 3 wide coming into turn number 1. How's this going to end? 3 wide, side by side. Esterson able to come through. Mullen holds on to the lead. I have a feeling one driver may have fallen back a little bit there. No. Stack them all back up for the penultimate lap. 2 to go here at VIR. What a run there. Esterson tucked in behind the gearbox of Mullen and then knifed up through the middle. He saw the gap and he shot it sent it down to the inside of one, and he's got to give some props, I think, to Dylan Christie. Could have cleared both those drivers out, but Christie gave him a lot of room on the left side. They'll work their way again out of the little corner there through turns 4, 5, and 6. Here's that snaking corner down to South Bend. Peter, this is about to get very, very good. Look at the guy back there in P6. Rivard's kind of taking it all in.
Yeah, I think... Oh, Rivard's got into contact! Rivard's got into contact with August. Oh, my goodness me. Look at Rivard's got damage, I think. Has he got away with it? Oh, my goodness me. Rivard just got into the back of August there. You know, Rivard... Oh, there was always the danger of that. This will be so interesting to see if his pace drops off. It looks like he's okay. We're going to get a replay of that. Look at this, Rob.
Through here, I think August potentially has to check up a little bit as you watch them coming through the S's section of this racetrack. August has a bit of trouble. No, and indeed, August went a bit wide coming out of the corner there. Rivard was kind of the inside, and August came back across. Contact sent him around, and indeed, there is some front damage to Rivard. That is not going to have him in this lead battle. It'll be a 4-driver fight here. They'll see the white flag next time by. Up front, Esterson has gone back to the lead. Mullen runs in second, Sykes in third, Christie in fourth, and again, Rivard, you can see him falling back. That damage we talked about, they'll work their way down through the roller coaster. They'll do one more time around here. Onto the front straightaway, here we go. This is the final lap, last race of the second season of FRP iRacing Challenge competition. Here we go, Peter, big run down into turn number 1.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely fascinating. We saw these drivers going so close with one another into turn 1 in the last lap and avoiding a collision. Net code? What net code?
Coming out of turn number 1 through 2, on board with Simon Sykes. A great shot here as the drivers work their way over to NASCAR Bend. It is that turn 3 kind of double apex left-hander. Now over to left hook. Everybody kind of setting things up, and we saw what happened in race number 1. We know that Rivard tried it at the end of the long back straightaway, but was not able to make it work coming through 14A and couldn't get the thing to stick, but he was able to make the run out of 17 to get the race win. Simon Sykes, does he think he's in the right spot? Is P3 the place to be?
I think you're absolutely right. I think Simon Sykes is in the perfect spot to have a go at winning this motor race. But remember, Rivard went into the roller coaster behind in second place and was able to still get to the line first. So remember, even if you make it into the roller coaster first, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll win the race. But no question about it, this exit of this corner right here at Oak Tree Turn, very, very important. And it looks like Simon Sykes has hooked it up really well. This is going to be a great drag down the back straight.
Esterson dropped the left side. Hoosier just a little bit. That'll get maybe rob him of some exit speed. That's going to stack everybody back up. Here comes the first move for the lead. Colin Mullen going to the inside. Sykes is going to push him across the line. He'll be right there with him. We may go 3 wide. Indeed, we are 3 wide into turn number 14. Who's going to come out with it here? Sykes with the slide job. He'll go to the inside. Into the grass goes Esterson. Sykes goes around. Dylan Christie is going to win this race. Christie stayed out of trouble. Everyone else had trouble. Christie's going to be able to cruise at home. Sykes made a move to the inside. Lost it mid-corner. Oversteer and around he went. Esterson was across the grass. Nowhere to go as well for Colin Mullen. And the winner of the final round here from P4. And he's celebrating already. Dylan Christie from Team Pelfrey is going to get the victory. Put an exclamation point on it, folks. What a wild finish. We were 3 wide coming up into turn number 14. And I think that Sykes thought he had it, but the car over-rotated coming into that next corner, trying into turn number 14 there. Here's the replay of it. Look at Sykes throw it in here. He thinks he's got it, but no, he dropped the wheel as well. But I'll tell you, Peter, I don't think he had any chance to get around that corner. He was all the way to the left side or the right side of the racetrack. I don't think he was making that corner and not getting into Colin Mullen there. Well, there's your champion. There's your champion. That car's beat up, but that's your champion right there, Zach Rivard. But let's talk about that final lap, Peter. That was fun to watch.
Well, it was full marks for effort from Simon Sykes. You can't say he won't go to bed tonight knowing that he didn't try, that's for sure. Okay. Amazing stuff. 3 wide going into the roller coaster, and even in these little Skip Barber cars, and even with drivers of their talent, 3 wide often doesn't go into the roller coaster. But as you say, our deserving champion, Zachary Rivard. Got to give a mention to our Race 2 winner here, Dylan Christie, of course. Dylan did not race last time out, at Mid-Ohio, and actually didn't finish too far behind in the championship. So we got to give a special shout out to him. But huge congratulations to Zach Rivard, who wins $500 in credit for this FRP season. And for a privateer like Zachary, that in the Thursday Pools car, that is brilliant news, and congratulations to him.
We're starting to line up our drivers in the interview area. Let's have a quick look at the top 10 while we can. Dylan Christie comes away with the win as he watched it all happen in front of him from P4. He ends up with the victory. Simon Sykes coming home somehow into second spot. Colin Mullen ends up in third. Max Esterson in fourth, and Zach Rivard rounding out the top five. Brian Farnham from deep in the field. Good run for Farnham. He comes up from 19th, a 13th position improvement to go to sixth. Matt Clark up 11 spots to end up finishing in seventh. Jason Pettit, eighth. It is Burton August in ninth, and Jackson Lee comes for the very tail of the field into the top 10. Seeing who we have right now in the waiting room right now, in our interview waiting room. Let's start by bringing in Simon Sykes. Let's have a quick chat with Simon. We'll let Dennis bring him in here to join us. Well, Simon, I'll tell you this. That was interesting. We were wondering how it was all going to finish. 3 wide down the back straight. We like the aggression. Walk us through that final lap.
So it was a crazy final lap. It was certainly a fun end to the race. Good job for Dylan staying out of trouble, but Max, Colin, and I all were going for it. Colin pulled out to pass Max. I saw a gap in between them. I shot the gap. Unfortunately, I got a little bit deep on the brakes and clipped the grass on the outside, and it looked like Max slid out as well. So we all charged the corner so hard that we all kind of missed it individually. But it was certainly one of the best finishes I've had on here as far as racing near the end. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure. And I think the whole race long was good. It wasn't that 2-driver kind of breakaway that we saw in the opening one. You guys were able to come back through. You hooked up with Justin Hilly at one point. Were able to get yourself back up. It was super exciting to watch. Let's talk, though, about your sponsors. I know you got a lot of guys that help make it happen for you, Simon. Let's give you an opportunity to give them a shout-out.
Well, first and foremost, I can't thank Greg Rice enough for his support. I'm racing F1600 with his team this year, Rice Race. My teammates, Colin, Jackson, and Kyle, were all participating with me in the series under the Rice Race name. So huge shout out to Greg Rice. He's amazingly good team, amazingly great guy. I can't thank him enough. And my personal sponsor, Group 6 Gear. It's the karting company that I started making safety apparel, chest and rib protectors for go-karting for young kids and adults alike, with custom mold rib protectors for custom fit in a go-kart seat, and it's available at group6gear.com.
That sounds like a badass deal. Well done, Simon. Congratulations on a great run. It was a lot of fun to watch you get at it, and I know that you're excited about getting back out into the real-life race world, so good luck when you do that, but congrats on a fantastic season.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I've really had fun racing these.
There's Simon Sykes, folks. A great run for him. Like he said, tried to go for the race win, made it 3 wide, just dropped the wheels a little bit there. And not surprising, just a little bit of fun. Well, folks, we got a couple more drivers here. Before we jump into the driver coming home in third spot, let's grab the race winner, Dylan Christie, standing by with Peter Mackay.
Dylan, congratulations on winning what was a frantic race from up here in the booth. I can't imagine what it was like from your seat. Tell us what it was like.
I mean, it was pretty crazy. I mean, what was interesting for me was I was fighting to get to those top 2 spots which I thought were the spots to be in, going into the final lap, and then got put in a bad spot with 2 to go. And honestly, I thought that's where my shots at the win were over. And I was really actually trying to get into those top 2 spots, going into the final lap. I mean, I thought that was the place to be, and I was handed the win a bit, but it feels good to have patience pay off, which is something I've been trying to learn.
Well, you certainly showed it today. And I understand that you were out testing at the real world VIR with your Team Pelfrey. Did that track experience in your real world F1600 car, did that help you along today? Because both you and your teammate Max Esterson were both really quick.
Well, when we went and tested a VIR, it was actually on the south course. There's some water nearby the track, which kept us from running the full course, but we had to run the south course, which is a different type of track. So maybe that didn't help with the sim racing stuff, but I would say that this sim racing series and all the iRacing stuff we've done is probably going to help me a lot for the real car. So maybe the other way around, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does, and we wish you all the very best with your season when you get going shortly. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that you'd like to thank and who help you out for your racing. Now's a chance to give them a shout out.
Well, biggest thanks to Team Pelfrey, of course. I mean, there's speed there, but there's also the working together aspect, especially in qualifying. That working together in qualifying and that that team communication that we've had has been able to allow us to qualify up front and giving us a chance. So awesome help from Team Pelfrey. So thanks to them, and thanks to Steeler USA, who's one of our sponsors, and
Well, congratulations, Dylan, and the very best of luck for your season.
Let's grab a hold of Colin Mullen now. I know that he's joining us here in the booth as well. Colin, I know that Skip Barber cars, but it was kind of like one of those old school, F1600 races as well. I know you part of Team USA at one point. That was a lot of fun to watch. And that last lap, that last run down the back straightaway, walk us through what you saw happening there.
Oh, man. Obviously happy to be on the podium, but I'm bummed I couldn't have gotten the win there. I thought I was in a perfect position going down the back straight, had a great run on Max to clear him on the outside. And then, Simon went for the inside, and I thought I was the first one to miss the braking zone, but apparently I was wrong. And Simon and Max just both came flying in. Simon, I cleared him, but Max just tagged the edge of the grass there and spun back on track and sent me off into the grass. So it was a bit hectic to say the least, but that's pretty much how these races go. And it was great battle to the end. It was pretty clean racing all throughout today. Yeah,
all in all, you had a pretty good day. Obviously the first race, it was you and Dylan kind of just working back and forth. The two drivers trying to pull up and see if you get to the leaders, then eventually just battling for third. This one was more of a hectic battle with about 5 or 6 drivers in the lead group. It just seemed like a lot of fun to watch, and it seemed like you guys were kind of just always holding the momentum. You weren't worried of whether or not you were going to be leading or second or third, really, for the first probably 8 or 9 laps. It was that end couple laps where you really started to figure out where you wanted to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those last few laps, you definitely want to be in the top 3, or I guess 4th in this case. But we were kind of just working in the pack, making sure that nobody did anything crazy or trying to not hit each other. But once you hit that halfway mark, you definitely want to be up in the top 5 in case there's any breakaways that may happen. So it was great pack racing. I love these cars for that reason. You can just really stick together in close groups. And then race 1, just Dylan and I tried to work together to catch up to the front, but Max and Zachary just did a great job on their own to pull away. So hats off to them, and it's been a lot of fun racing this series.
Colin, let's give you an opportunity to talk about what you're going to be doing this year. I know Greg Rice is trying to get you into one of his race prep cars, at least a couple of races this year. What are you going to be keeping busy with this year?
So I'll be running a full season in GT4 America Sprint X with Jared Andretti. So our first race is scheduled to actually be at VIR in July. So I'm excited to get back to the real world and real racing. But I know Greg's always pushing for me to get back in one of his cars. So we'll see. Maybe maybe sometime.
Any sponsors you want to mention right now?
I've had Window World on the car, but unfortunately, I don't think the custom liveries were working for the race. So thanks to them, their support for the GT4 program, longtime partner of Andretti Autosport, and big thanks to Rice Race Prep. Greg's just an awesome guy putting this group together. We've had a lot of fun racing with everybody. Kyle, Simon, and myself and Jackson, and we had Bob Perona in the group as well for a while. Just all hop in a Discord call, and it's just been a lot of fun racing this series. So just thanks to all of them, and thanks to you guys for helping put the series together.
Well, Colin, we appreciate you taking the time. Congrats on a couple of good finishes, P3 in race number 2, and good luck for the remainder of the 2020 season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, let's bring in our champion. It ends up being a 5th place finish here today in the final race, coming off that victory in race number 1. But Zach Rivard, you got the job done. You kind of stayed back there in 6th for a bit. And watch some of the crazy action, but you end up coming away with a strong 5th place finish in the championship. What are your thoughts here post race?
Yeah, that was definitely the craziest race I've been in this year. It was the most terrifying for me, being in the position of just really having to finish and having all that go on. It was pretty crazy. I had to really pick my spots and where to make a move and when to use my brain.
What were your thoughts when you got into the back? I believe was it August that potentially got in the back of? There was some kind of contact there. Do you think it was all over at that point?
Yeah, I feel bad for that one. I mean, I knew I was in a good spot because Justin, he had issues earlier in the race also. Um, but yeah, it checked up really fast in a spot I wasn't really expecting it. So I really did just punt him. I feel bad. Sorry to Kyle. But yeah, I was worried once I saw how slow and damaged the car was.
Zach, congratulations on winning this championship, an incredibly fiercely competed series. What does it mean to you to get that extra boost to your racing plans for this year?
Oh, it's big for me. Running the privateer team like me, my dad, my cousin Miles, and my sister Carly do. Um, like at the grassroots level, any financial support is big. So I was really going all out for this one.
Well, you certainly did them proud, and of course, Thursday Pools are one of your sponsors. Tell us a little bit about them and how people can get in touch with them.
Yeah, they're owned by Pilar and Ed Vondel. They're based out of Indianapolis, big, racing city, like the racing hub of America. They're a fiberglass pools manufacturer, and they ship all over the United States. So with summer coming up, definitely check them out.
I'm sure that our viewers will need to do that. Zachary, before we go, thank you very much for giving us such a good show, and congratulations on your win.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for all the coverage all year or all season.
Well, folks, there you have it. Fantastic run for Zach Rivard. He ends up winning the championship. And again, when you're watching the F1600 Championship Series here in 2020, there's a guy you want to keep an eye on. There's obviously some big teams, Rice Race Prep, Team Pelfrey, other teams that we've seen here on the iRacing Challenge with FRP. Always nice to root for that privateer family team. And again, excited to see what Zach will be able to do in 2020. He'll most definitely be able to use that $500 credit that he got from winning this championship. It's been a tremendous battle here. A couple of great races at VIR. Peter, final thoughts on the season, final thoughts on our event here today.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's been an absolute pleasure to call the races with a real pro like yourself, Rob, and we were just treated to some proper good racing. I mean, like I said, lots of people have got great ideas about how to make motor racing exciting. Well, I think you could use that as a perfect case study. Really ambitious young drivers with great personality, great character, and low downforce cars, low grip, and you can't go wrong with a circuit like VIR. What an amazing facility, and provided us with such a good show. What was your takeaways from the championship?
Well, for me, Peter, I've for the last 20 years been a huge fan of any kind of competition like this. Low horsepower, no downforce, no wings at all. I've always loved Formula 1600 racing, and it's the Skip Barber platform here with iRacing provides exactly that. And that's really what we were hoping for, some great racing. And what I really took away, I think, from this particular race at the end was the simple racecraft that we saw from all of these drivers. 2 wide, 3 wide. Yeah, a little craziness at the end going for the victory in race number 2 as drivers were throwing it down in there. As Colin said, he thought he was late on the brakes, but everybody else was even later. It was a wild finish for sure. But for the 10 laps before that, we saw some tremendous side-by-side racing. For me, it was just great to see these guys show the same respect that they will show outdoor racing here in the virtual world as well. Just exciting racing for sure. Of course, big congratulations to a champion of this program, Zach Rivard, with 3 straight wins in the middle of the season. Of course, 5th here today. He ends up taking a $500 credit into his 2020 outdoor season. We do want to thank all of you for joining us here on the Apex Racing TV program, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, whatever it may be. And a big thank you for you tuning in to the Formula Race Promotions iRacing Challenge, the second of the 2 seasons that they put together here during the COVID-19 pandemic shutdown. All these drivers, all the teams, all the staff, all ready to go back racing, and they'll do so here in the next month or so as we kind of come out from underneath this stoppage and get a chance to go back racing, which everybody wants to do. And again, as Peter said, VIR playing host, a fantastic stage for the final round of the series. We do want to thank you all for joining us here. And again, on behalf of myself, Rob Howden, Peter Mackay, and our producer, Dennis Branch, big congratulations to Zach Rivard, the winner, the champion of the FRP iRacing Challenge Season number 2 here on Apex. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Bye for now.